Thank you so much for staying tuned. It's still the conversation here on Legacies Television. We told you just before we took that break that on the program today we'll be continuing from where we stopped yesterday, where we discussed the life and times of former President Muhammadu Buhari. This morning we'll be taking a look at some of his legacies. Was this man entirely were his policies entirely bad? Are all the things we'll remember him for on the negative side? So today we'll take a look at his journey, not only as head of state, but also as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, two-term president at that. And so we do have our guest here, and together we'll be taking a look at the legacies of this man. Adiola Yusuf is a journalist as well as the team lead at Platforms Africa. Thank you, Adiola, for finding time to be with us on the program this morning.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Right. Of course, let's take a look at late Muhammadu Buhari. We talked about the facts that yesterday, of course, he was the head of state as a military person and then became the president of Nigeria, two-term civilian president of Nigeria. Taking a look at some of his policies, either as a military personnel or as a civilian president, how would you broadly describe the man, Muhammadu Buhari? I know that a lot of people have said he was trustworthy, he was upright, but again, a lot of people were somehow disappointed in his tenure as president. But for you, how would you describe the man?
Okay, to start with, let me send my condolences to the people of Nigeria, to the president, and particularly to Aisha Buhari. I have to say this because even though we don't have so much inroad into their family life or to their private life, but we could see how the president, the former president, while he was in office, was carrying this Aisha. That was the time that it was rumored that he was having a second wife, and he came out publicly.
They printed an invitation.
So while the death of Buhari may mean so many things to so many people, as human beings, we know what that will mean to Ajia.
Family.
So I send my condolences to her and to everyone around the former president. He died at age 82. He ruled Nigeria maybe in military khaki and in civilian barbariga for 3 times. He battled leukemia, that's cancer of the blood, for so many years before he now eventually gave up the ghost at 82. So the summary of his life is that he lived a fulfilled life. Of course, from what I would call the legacy of Marshal McLuhan, that is the technological determinism. That's a number of people having access to the internet, to technology. You could hear a lot of side talks here and there, mixed reactions. But based on those facts that I've put on the table, for a man to have ruled Nigeria, not everyone will have that opportunity. 3 times, and he died at the age of 82.
So he lived a good life.
He lived a fulfilled life.
Okay, let's talk about his impact on their country, Nigeria, as a military head of state, as well as a civilian president. What are those key figures or achievements that you cannot forget, even in his death?
Okay, to start with, because of the fact that I relate more with, the business side and the oil and gas side of Nigerian economy, I would say that it is Buhari that signed the petroleum industrial, bill into an act. Okay, so for people that truly understand, the talks about the Dangote refinery coming on board, the probe into the NNPC, having this, having that, subsidy and all that, you will see the key role that bill is signed into law played in the Nigerian oil and gas industry. That's one. Number 2, a lot of things that have to do with, trying to close up so many gaps as it relates to corruption. The president tried his best. And aside from that, he has been able to, put Nigerian banking industry into a very, reliable, strength where they can, venture into investment into a lot of things and other and that. And aside from that, the one that, we can all relate with, is that he's someone, despite the fact that he has a military background, is someone that believes so much in democracy that we all could see played out during the APC primary. We all could see played out during the Nigerian, the last election that we had. And you could see that it was during his tenure that some sitting governors who were even members of his own political party, their victory were upturned by, the court of law. And you could see that he lived by his statement, on May 29, 2015, that it was for nobody, was for everybody. So, of course, those things are facts, again, that are put on the table, that no one, will see those facts and not say that this man, left some legacies.
Right. A journey before 2015, when he eventually became the president of Nigeria, we know that he had tried about 2 or 3 times, and he lost those elections before he eventually came into power. And I think at that by 2015, a lot of people looked at his antecedent, especially his these days at the PTF, his days as the military president, military leader of Nigeria, and just figured, right, looks like this man is, without blemish in coat and can actually give Nigerians a better country. So would you say that at the end of his tenure in 2023, when Nigerians, I know that this question is more or less like, why are you asking me this question? But were Nigerians really satisfied that he actually brought his A game into, his presidency? Or if we also went by what he also said, that corruption was fighting back at all that he did, was it that the forces were just too many that he had to just shut his eyes and say, you know what, Nigeria, let me just do the best I can do and leave you to your to carry your cross?
Okay, fact about Buhari is that it's not infallible, and no one is. We have our own different areas of ups and downs. Right. And as we are seated, viewers looking at us, watching us, and we that are even in the studio, if we do a critical SWOT analysis of our personality, we'll see that we have strengths as much as weakness.
Right.
Sure.
So, because of the fact that we have not sat on the table where everyone will be interested in what we do, doesn't mean we don't have our weaknesses. Despite the fact that I've described late President Muhammadu Buhari as a man that lived a fulfilled life, he has his own shortcomings too. And if you want to start reeling them out here now, we will see that as much as we are counting the other side, we'll be counting that too.
Right.
So it is established that he has his own weaknesses. And one of such is that a lot of Nigerians have rated Buhari, his integrity earned him the Gaskia. His integrity earned him that. And based on promises before that election, 2015 election, we have, put Buhari's integrity to a level that is a Superman. Everyone thought that Nigeria is a country where an upright person, just one upright person can rule and be successful. So a lot of things happen that, at the end of the day, came up with something like that looks like disappointment to a lot of people, particularly people, if you do the analysis on Twitter, on social media, you see people below age 50, a lot of them, have expressed disappointment about the president. A lot of factors could be responsible for that. Of course, youths expect drastic change based on our nature and our nurture. It has to happen, and it has to happen now. But that is an area where some Nigerians, felt disappointed in the president. Another area is that he allowed too much of people working with him. If he has trusted you so many years behind, he will not, look back. That trust will still be there. And, based on those, and people took advantage of that. I was in a meeting with someone who jokingly was an official under late President Muhammadu Buhari, who jokingly said that if you want Buhari to assent to anything, just tell him it's to fight corruption. So once he hears that, okay, you want to fight corruption with this thing, he will not look back. He will just, and they took serious advantage of him. We could all relate to the Nigerian, issue where a minister deceived everybody, including the president. Of course, no one remembers the name of that minister any longer. It is this man and that is one fact about leadership, and that is one fact about life. Once you are the one that is throwing your hat in the ring, you should wait for not only the blessings but the curses that will come out of it. So those are the other way. And one thing that we now know now is based on Nigeria's more exposure to the social media. I call it, while introducing to this program, I call it the Marshall McLuhan's legacy. It was Marshall McLuhan, a communication researcher, that once said that the media is a message. Like, time is coming that technology will determine everything. Right. Now we could see that technology is determining everything now. And with that technology, people that were considered voiceless before, everyone now has a voice. So once you have an Android phone and you have a Twitter account, no one can shut you down any longer. So with that, you could see a lot of expression of anger, a lot of expression of happiness and all that. But fact of the matter is that with, weighing the two sides, the man that, a lot of people that have been condemning him have not lived up to 82 years. A lot of people that have been condemning him are not sure they will rule Nigeria once or less. So he lived a life of fulfillment, and that is a fact about his life.
Okay, so what do you think were the other factors that were responsible for some of his shortcomings? Like you said, people that were very close to him, they took advantage of him. But in spite of that, he was able to achieve certain tangible things. Lagos-Ibadan Expressway is there, the second Niger Bridge, the railway lines, and so on and so forth. So what are the other factors that were responsible? Was it his age, or he wasn't as active as he was when he became the civilian president as against when he was the head of state? What are the other factors that were responsible for some of the disappointment that we had? Okay,
thank you. Number one on the list of that is that we most times forget that our leaders are chosen from among us. Okay, so number one factor, that led to whatsoever consideration we want to have about Buhari is Nigerians generally. Okay, there is this axiom that we all had of a teacher, that went to meet his, of a principal that went to meet the teacher and told them that, okay, the school will come up with ID card, and the cost of that ID card will be 200 naira. The teacher went to meet the pupils and tell them that, okay, the school is coming up with an ID card, and the cost of that ID card is 350 naira. The child got to his parents, but first of all met the mother and said, Mommy, they said you are coming up with ID card and the price is 1,000 naira. And the mom, by the time the husband was, coming from there, said, okay, so a new thing has come up. They said the price of the ID card that your child will take to school is 2,500 naira. And that is what, happens almost always among us. If you want to put that to test, if you see a new phone or a new item with your friend, ask that person the real cost of that. He will not tell you. So they are likely to inflate that. So fact of the matter is that as much as we have, complaints about our leaders, they are chosen from among us. So one of the challenges that we do not get what we usually envisage is us first. Then number two, just like you have mentioned, the age. If it is possible, for Nigerians to get to a level, I know it's possible, for Nigerians to get to a level where people, at certain age, will be considered to be, advisors, will be considered to be statesmen and other statesmen and all that, be given advice, while the young ones will be put, at the war front. If you get to that level, because there is no way we overlook or look away from that issue of age as well. Of course, the Buhari that ruled Nigeria over 30 years or over 40 years ago, it's not the same Buhari when you want to talk about. Because you remember that in 2017, he used, months in the clinic in London.
Right.
You understand? So, and that tells you that, there is no way we will cheat our nature. There is no way, when we start aging, there is no way we will now overlook. So he was not able to discharge that responsibility. Imagine what could have happened when the state president was, undergoing medical treatment abroad for over 1 month or thereabout. So those are the things that I think, but all hope is not lost. We learn from our mistakes, and if Nigerians can wake up and realize those things on time, I think it will be better for every one of us.
All right, let's look at a few of the sectors. You've talked about the PIA, of course, which was the oil and gas sector. We also, I know that we cannot talk about Buhari without talking about what happened, with just before the 2023 elections, with the changing of Naira and some economic policies, which has brought Godwin Emefiele where he is today. Would you also see that as part of those who also took advantage of his naivety to put the country in, to favor their own personal interest? Some of our guests yesterday did say that he was a man of little words. He spoke little, but then he knew what he wanted. But you've also established here today that this was a man that a lot of people also took advantage of, especially because of his seeming love for Nigeria and his wish to fight corruption. So if you take a look at some of his economic policies at that time, whether we like it or not, remember also before he left, his administration had talked about the fact that fuel subsidy was going anyway. And I think from June of 2023, they were not going to make arrangement for the payment of fuel subsidy before President Tinubu eventually said subsidy was gone. So some of the economic policies at that time, what caught it for you?
Okay, very disheartening that people took advantage of the late former president. And very disheartening that, of course, there is no way we will blame people that took advantage of him. He is the one that, people will blame. And when I looked at activities after the announcement of his death on Sunday on social media, you will see that despite the fact that some people just, plug into the, people are abusing me, let me abuse him too to get clicks and all that. There are some people like that. But some people's anger were genuine, enough. Let me cite an example. During that issue of Emefiele, something, because when you were introducing me, you introduced me as a journalist, something that I witnessed that almost, made me to shed tears. I don't know whether I actually shed tears. It was people around me that day that could say whether I shed tears. Okay, and it happened in a town in Ogun State called Atonta. Okay, so during the Emefiele crisis, when that Naira, change, they call it, a derealization of Naira. Of course, when it changed that currency's color, and they went to meet the president that people are facing terrible, and the president said, okay, no problem. He put some people in place, in charge, and he trusted those people that he put in charge. Remember that, on the national TV, Emefiele said people that wanted to fight him should come out, on the street, come and meet me. He was ready. So, but this that happened was that people had money, and they couldn't access that money.
Right. The banks were...
The banks, it was so tough that in Atonta, there was a day in Atonta, Ogun State, a mother went to, in that environment, because it's still rural, they usually cook outside with firewood, put a pot of soup on fire. A pot of soup and whatever they want to do on fire. So there is, these people, because they usually eat what they call tuwo in that area, so they were cooking tuwo outside. And a mother came and carried that tuwo on the firewood while cooking on the fire. So now, after she took that in and started running, someone that was quick came out and saw her and decided, ole, thief. So people had to follow her in a bid to go and catch a thief. Before they could get to her house, they saw that she has put that in front of her children.
Wow.
And they were, the shocking part of it was that they were using palm oil.
To eat the tuwo.
To eat that tuwo during that crisis. So if a son or a daughter of that woman that day. In fact, people that chased her to, they were the one that later contributed money for her to go
because
and
they
cook
saw why
soup
she did what she did.
to cook. So it was that terrible. So imagine a son or a daughter of that woman having access to Twitter and heard that the president that so
would have been his comments.
So you will not blame people outrightly. Despite the fact that there are some people that were doing that because of the fact that other people are doing that, with that. But there are some people that who generally had it so tough and so rough during that time. But what we will tell them here is that, of course, this was a man that trusted people and people took advantage. You could see after his death, you could see revelation from even Emefiele. You could see those things that, there was no link to Buhari at all, about the acquisition, acquisition that is even unimaginable. Yes. Of course. So, and during that time, a lot of people some people, cashed out, they made a lot of money at the detriment of Nigerians that suffer. So, head and tail, this was the man that people took advantage. But fact of the matter is that you have to blame him. He was the president. The buck stops on his table.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about his lifestyle, his simplicity, and his modest home in Daura. Of course, he was a farmer as well. And when you compare his lifestyle and the love for the country to the quality of leaders that we have today, is it what we can compare at all?
Okay. Of course, it may be. If I want to speak from the point of view of researcher, you need to put two variables that are comparable side by side. Okay, some are ruling now. He has ruled. We will need to wait for those that are ruling now to complete before you can fairly compare. Okay, so that's the way a researcher will look at that matter. But Buhari tried his best. He did his best in actual fact, and what you will see in Daura today will be, a significant, pointer to that fact that the man did his best. At the end of everything, he has lived his life. Maybe after today, maybe we'll hear revelation about what he has built. But up till now, we know that that man is not the man after material acquisition. He's not. So, of course, people blamed him. A lot of people said, okay, if he has built hospital in Nigeria, he wouldn't have gone abroad and all that. They have reasons and they have rights to all those things. But fact remains that this is one former president we have that he cannot start naming. There was a time that he said he has two houses, one in Daura and one in Kaduna. So he has said so, and from what we have seen, of course, before he became the president, he had to declare his assets. We could see that the same one he declared in 2015 was still the same one declared in 2019 when he was recontested. So how many of us, they will say, like the Bible say, who will cast the first stone? Who will cast the first stone? So this is the man that was known. And if people have been stealing money, hiding under it shows clearly that he knew nothing about it. It shows clearly that he didn't sanction that. And, that will make us to now see that clearly that this was a man, that lived a life that, a lot of people that wants to, understand life truly can emulate. But like I said, let me end it the way I started it. I will wait for those that are really not now to complete their own before we cannot just oppose. But
we are seeing sometimes already the kind of life they are living, the luxury cars that they ride.
Of course, we have people, even ministers that are riding, Bentley and all that. Still in office, they've asked them questions and they are trying to, stammer to look for that or something, But fact remains that by the time you see, I know that activity could have started. By the time you see Buhari's burial today, whosoever can think will know that, there's nothing wrong in trying to be comfortable, but amassing wealth at the detriment of people is still a waste of time, and it means that people are sick of stress.
Right. Let's quickly look at issues around insecurity or security while he was the president. A lot of Nigerians had also thought that, with his military background, Nigeria should have been better secure. During his tenure, how would you look at issues around security or insecurity? Okay,
that is a critical matter because of the fact that before a president or even a governor, anyone seeking office who, get to that level, they usually talk about the solutions they have for insecurity.
Yes.
And remember that before he became the president, there was this serious issue of Boko Haram, even gaining territory, local government in Borno State and other parts of the northeastern states. So when he came, he was able to, do a bit because, of course, from what he told us, Boko Haram hosting a flag in parts of Borno State stopped. But why that stopped in the northeast, there was another issue in the northwest. You could hear that even his hometown of Castina was under serious attack of bandits. Why Boko Haram issue stopped a bit in the northeast, the banditry started under his watch in the northwest. And it got to a level that even it affected farmers, people that were supposed to go to farm. We read it in news and we had it in news, that it got to a state that those guys became so emboldened that they were demanding ransoms, demanding money from farmers before they could be allowed to go to farm. And we could see that contributed to issues about inflation, particularly in the cash crop and the food items that we buy. So while he tried on one aspect, there is another aspect that even though he may say that, or people around him may say he tried, but if you want to look at the result, we could see that he didn't get 100 when it comes to security. He gets maybe 50 or below 50 when it comes to security. And just like the question you have asked, a lot of people expected him, being a former general, okay, and they say that once they general, they are always general. So because it was the fact that he was, a military man that, that got to that level, we expected that by the time he got to that, Aso Rock, the issue of insecurity will be, though there is no country in the world that we have, 100% security, but at least we were not expecting that we have up to what we had. But we could see pointers to the fact that he tried in one area or the other. Maybe another shortcoming of his that we said about trusting people, blindly affected him. Maybe not. But fact remains that, insecurity is one of, landmark that people talk about when they are reviewing his legacies.
Okay. So for the crop of leaders that we have today, what are those key lessons that you think they can take away from later Muhammadu Buhari, going by the way that he governed and ruled as a military head of state? Then what are the key elements of leadership that you think they can take away from him? Okay,
number one is, perspective about wealth, about amassing wealth. You have cited an example. Even those that don't get to the level, even councillors, even class reps and all that, what preoccupies their mind at the first instance is to look at how they can take advantage and of that office and not service. Number one lesson should be the way people respond, or the perspective that leaders have about amassing wealth. It is so unnecessary. I think Buhari is a socialist. He's someone that believes that, okay, everybody should have, then the little that he has is comfortable with. It's a lesson. Remember that, when the day he died, on Sunday that he died, a prominent, a first front line, a first class, monarch in Nigeria, that's Awujale died. Awujale has been buried yesterday. You saw the, burial of Awujale. The Ijebus will refer to Awujale as Orisha Ijebu. For you to know, if you look at the burial, you will see that all you just need to follow is to be comfortable, because at the end of the day, you are still wasting your time. Getting all this. When you have more, it gets a level that, okay, you have what you need. But when it's getting to a certain level, you discover that it becomes a problem for yourself. So that is one lesson. Then number two, trying to have serious connection with your roots. Buhari is that president that said that immediately he's retiring to the same house that he left. Of course, we don't usually have that. But at the end of the day, you'll be taken out of that house when you breathe your last. So he returned to the house that he was living before becoming the president. And he said it publicly. Maybe, like I said earlier, maybe after his death, maybe revelation could come out of other houses. But we still see very clearly that those that declared are those that he still has. And that's number 2. Number 3 is relation, and he has that relationship with Daura. It's not the one that Yorubas we call the Adekodere. People that immediately they get, you know, a step higher, they cut connection with their roots. And although at the end of the day they will still suffer it too, but you can learn, whoever that wants to become leaders, you learn that you don't cut ties with your roots. That's number 3. Number 4, Buhari was a family man. I've cited the instance of you could hear you know, when I was you know, trying to look at Buhari's legacy, I came across an article of 10 quotes from the man that you know, broke the internet while he was alive. One of such was, you know, in the other room. You know, he showed clearly, and we could see, you know, the way he was carrying the wife, the way he was, you know, people know him with Zara, the daughter. He was a family man. He has the influence, he has the power to marry more than one, and his religion permitted him to marry, to, you know, to have decorated his house with wives, or to even have side chicks and whatsoever. But he was so faithful to his wife and to his family. And those are the lessons. Once you're able to accomplish those ones, I think life will be so easier. Then you will not think it's necessary for you to, you know, be the one that will have all the wealth in this world.
Right. Let's talk about, although Ajibola asked you that, but again, let's look at some lessons that, of course, other people can learn from the lifestyle of the late president. But before we do that, something somebody said really bothered me, and the fact that we all are journalists here, let's just weigh in on that before we quickly move on here. The former spokesperson of the president, Femi Adesina, was on another media, was on Channels Television, let me just say it, and he was said to have, you know, said that Muhammadu Buhari could have been long dead if he had used Nigerian hospitals. Now, for me, and for somebody to have said that, number one, isn't that a disparity you know, on Nigerian hospitals? Because even if you take a look at some of these hospitals abroad, you find that their senior doctors are even Nigerians. So if you had said that, aren't you also belittling the nation that this man was president of? Even though you had claimed that, you know, even before he became president, he had, you know, sought medical help or medical care from these London hospitals. But him, you know, dying there and you saying this on a national television, is that right?
Okay, it's a statement I'll consider unfortunate. Of course, I studied communication and I practiced communication. That is a communication, not a strategic communication. And it's self-indicting. Right. So what is it that they are doing in that London clinic that the person that has the power to do didn't do? Of course, it's self-indicting, and I consider that, you know, a communication that didn't consider the strategy. How will you even it is rubbing it on the faces of Nigerians? Yes. You know, it's rubbing it on the faces of Nigerians. Even if you are saying the truth, you don't come out to say a truth that will hurt people. Right. You don't say it out to say a truth that will even make people to ask more questions. A fact is established that the person you are talking about is the person that Nigerians gave the trust and the power to now replicate that London hospital. It's unfortunate, and there's no description that I can give to it other than that.
Sorry, Jibola, so going forward, what does this say to communication strategists or the spokespersons of our leaders or, you know, yes, elected officers?
Okay, I understand the fact that, you know, remember there was an issue when, you know, people were talking about whether some people were real journalists, whether some people were not. You know, this is not to talk about that, you know, because I actually don't have idea about that. I mean, an opinion about that. But the opinion I have is that when it comes to speaking on behalf of people, it means that you can speak better than those people. Right. That is why. And we have come to understand that communication it is not only when you are speaking that you are communicating. Even when you keep quiet,
Yeah, your body language says a lot.
you are communicating. So there are some ways that you say loudly, you know, like you are shouting on top of your voice when you keep quiet. And when you say, okay, you don't want to respond to that. And this is an example of that. You know, if I know that, you know, a lot of, you know, communication strategists, so-called communication strategies, or those that are real communication strategies, you know, speak from the point of emotion. I can see that the man was trying to say that, okay, he wanted to say the truth to Nigerians. You know, and this is not to say that what he has said is not correct, but it's to talk about saying it where he said it.
Right.
So you don't say that, you don't say something like that. What you are saying is that the Buhari that you are trying to, you know, say well about is a terrible person, or was a terrible person. So if he has been given the power, if he has been given the fault by Nigerians to now replicate or even make London Hospital better than this. Okay, that was a time that the UCH was the hospital that even the Saudi monarchs, you know, were visiting. So what happened? This was the president, you know, that this was the person that ruled Nigeria twice, you know, as a
military.
He ruled as military and he ruled as a civilian president. So at the end of the day, even though there is, you know, specialists in London, because one thing we need to understand that when it comes to health, you don't want to joke with your health, particularly when you know that the illness you are battling is a terminal one. Right. You want anywhere they tell you you can get solution, you have to go there. That is fact. But now this person has done that, you know, based on his personal conviction. It is not right. There is no way we want to look at it for the person that will now speak on behalf of that person to want to now say the truth and say that to Nigerians.
The detriment of Nigeria.
Okay, my question is similar to Abimbola's own. In that same hospital, we also had the former head of state, Abdulsalam Abubakar. What does this say about our leaders and their efforts in galvanizing Nigeria to greatness?
Okay, let me start by telling us that, you know, an issue that has to do with health, I try my best to be very, very careful. And the simple reason is that particularly when, you know, you don't know the nature of the illness that someone is battling. May God continue his mercies on us. It's until you experience that or you have someone very close to you experience that. So when someone, you know, has the deep pocket enough to look for solution, particularly when it has to health anywhere, I don't usually like to say that this is the way the person should do it. One. But the second one is that don't let us talk about the fact that they are president, they were once president of Nigerians or Nigeria. If any one of us has that deep pocket, will you not consider it right to look for, you know, solution, best care anywhere, so that whatsoever we don't sound like hypocritical when it comes to that matter. But because of the fact that they once ruled this country, is an indictment on them that they didn't do. It is as simple as that. They didn't do what they ought to have done
at the right time. All right, we'll have to leave this conversation here this morning. Thank you so much, Adiola Yusuf, for finding time to be with us on the program this morning. We appreciate your thoughts.
My pleasure always. Thanks for having me.
All right, that's too much we take on this side of the table this morning. We'll take a quick break. When we return, the conversation continues with Adebimbe.